Here are three things I'm still thinking about from the conversation that Jim Nova and I had with Dr. Zenas Kim-Banther for TBJ211.
What about this passage is giving you the frustration? Is it the consistency, getting center of the notes? Is it the rhythm? Is it pitch? And then just narrowing it down and just keeping it to the most simplest elements. Maybe that's what I got from Craig also from those Arbins, but narrowing it down to the most simple things. And, if it's something super frustrating, just say, I'm going to spend, 10 minutes on this, walk away, do something that I really enjoy, come back with a fresh, more inviting peace of mind, and kind of go at it. But definitely not trying to, and this is something, it sounds so stupid, you'd think you'd figure this out earlier on in your playing, but it took me a long time to really just like stop myself from just playing it over and over until it magically gets better. It's, and that's what I yell at my students about all the time, but it's really hard, when you know what it should sound like, and it's but there's a couple of blocks along the way from getting there.
Zena talked about the most important thing when you hit a bump in the road when practicing, which is identifying the exact problem, and stressed that you need to keep your diagnosis to the most simple elements possible. And how about that strategy she offers for dealing with a frustrating passage? I had not heard it before, and I think it's brilliant. Set a timer for 10 minutes, but before you begin, choose some activity that you enjoy that you will go do after 10 minutes. Doesn't matter if those 10 minutes go well or not. 10 minutes and then walk away. That helps us not fall into the trap of just playing the thing over and over again, which, by the way, is an easy trap for even us seasoned professionals to fall into. Finally, she shared that the hard part comes when you know what it should sound like and just can't get it there. That's why it's easier to not get frustrated when you are first starting out on an instrument. At that point, everything is discovery. But gain a bunch of skills and knowledge and then hit a wall when you're practicing, that's hard. And that's why this 10-minute system is so good. I've already started sharing it with my students. Now, this is Jim Nova commenting on Norman Bolter's overlay system.
The overlay system is three layers, and the first layer is your mechanics, like robotics of playing, good sound, posture, production, basically. And then your second layer is intellect and choice, and that's where you see a piece and you think, okay, this is Mahler, I'm going to play this forte different than I play a forte in Bach, or there's a line over the notes, what is that, kind of reading the script. And unfortunately, a lot of people, that's where they sort of end. They stop going any further, because the third layer is the most important layer. It's the integration and art, and that's where you transcend those first two layers, and you say something with the music. And what are you saying? And I actually find that when I start at the third layer and work back, I always have better results than if I work forward towards that layer. So like, what do I want to say with this music? What do I want? What do I want the audience and myself to feel while playing this? Okay, well, how do I execute that in this piece? And then how do I get the sound I want?
As Jim says, so many players stop after the second layer. Those are the recitals I go to at a conference where the player is operating the instrument at a world-class level, and yet I'm bored within 5 to 10 minutes. That third level is about figuring out what you are saying with the music, not what should, in quotes, be said with the music. As he said, it's about transcending the first two layers. And what wonderful insight that Jim has more success working backwards through this system, starting with what he's trying to say with the music and then figuring out how to make that happen. So much of school and of teaching is centered around the first two layers and never even addresses the third layer, and in a lot of ways, that's backwards. That third layer, by the way, is why Zena and Jim are both such phenomenal trombone players. Last thought, here is a clip of Zena offering some advice for people who don't check all of the boxes that Jim and I do.
I would just say know your tribe, know your passions, have, your support system. And I'm not saying it's not tough. Like once, some of the stuff got through my density and stuff started bugging me, it is tough, and there isn't like a explanation that makes sense when you kind of face stuff like that. But
Yeah.
if when you have a support system in place, like I've had male or female or whatever, all my teachers have been incredibly supportive. So have a support system in place and just always be reminded of why you're doing it. And that's maybe why I think, try to instill that music connection side with my students as well. Even besides all the stuff we're talking about right now, but when things get tough, it's easy to quit when you're facing challenges, if you're feeling like you're not meeting the goals you want to meet. But if you go back to that feeling you can't describe when you feel something here and it comes out of the bell, and someone else kind of takes something away from it, kind of just remember that like that's why you're doing this. But I'm not gonna lie, it sucks sometimes. And I think it's healthy to acknowledge that too. So
What powerful advice from Zena for people who some try to make feel like outsiders on gigs or at school or in music in general. I thank Zena for generously sharing this advice because it really means something coming from someone who has unfortunately lived this reality as she has and continues to. As a side note, if you missed TBJ211 and didn't hear about what she endured as principal trombone of the Daegu Symphony, then don't miss it. It's incredible what she had to put up with. It's an empowering message that she recommends reminding yourself of your why, of why you are doing music in the first place, because that is, of course, available to anyone at any time. Thank you to Zena for her generosity and to Jim Nova for stepping in as co-host for TBJ211. And that's going to do it for these 3 thoughts.